My pregnant wife wanted to name our baby after her ex, then I discovered she was cheating. My wife, let's call her Lucia, and I have been married for 3 years. Lucia is currently 6 months pregnant with our first child, and we were both really excited about becoming parents. Everything started to go downhill about a month ago. We were discussing baby names, and Lucia suddenly suggested a name that took me by surprise. She wanted to name our baby after her ex-boyfriend, Daniel. I didn't think much of it at first, maybe she just liked the name. But when I asked why she wanted that name specifically, she got really defensive. She said it was just a name she had always liked, but I could see there was more to it. I told her I wasn't comfortable with naming our child after her ex. It didn't feel right to me. Lucia got upset and said I was being unreasonable. She argued that I was making a big deal out of nothing. We had a huge fight, and she ended up storming out of the house saying she needed to clear her head. Lucia was gone for several hours. When she came back, she was calm, but distant. She didn't want to talk about the name anymore, which I thought was a good sign. I figured we had both cooled off and could move past it, but things didn't go back to normal. Lucia was on her phone all the time, texting and smiling at her screen. She would leave the room to take calls and seemed more distracted than usual. A week later, Lucia announced she needed to take a weekend trip alone to think things through. She said the stress of the pregnancy and our recent arguments were too much for her. I was concerned but didn't want to push her, so I agreed. I thought maybe some time away would help her feel better. That weekend was one of the longest of my life. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I tried calling and texting Lucia, but she responded with short, vague messages. My gut was telling me something was off, but I didn't have any proof. When Lucia came back, she seemed happier, but still distant. I decided to check her phone one night while she was sleeping. I know it was a breach of trust, but I couldn't help myself. There were hundreds of messages between Lucia and Daniel, her ex. They were talking about everything, their old memories, their feelings for each other, and even plans to meet up. One message stood out. Daniel had said, "I can't wait for our baby to be born." Our baby. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized that Lucia had been cheating on me with Daniel for over a year. She had even continued seeing him after we found out she was pregnant. I confronted Lucia the next morning. She didn't deny it. Instead, she broke down and confessed everything. She said she had never really gotten over Daniel, and when we had started having problems, she had reached out to him for comfort. One thing led to another, and they had rekindled their relationship. Lucia apologized and said she still loved me, but she wasn't sure what she wanted anymore. She claimed she was confused and didn't know how to handle her feelings. I felt betrayed and devastated. The woman I loved and trusted had been lying to me for over a year. We decided to separate for a while. I needed time to think and process everything. Lucia moved in with her parents, and I stayed at our house. It's been a few weeks now, and I'm still struggling to come to terms with everything, and I'm not sure if our marriage can survive this. One of the hardest parts is not knowing if the baby is mine or Daniel's. Lucia has agreed to a paternity test once the baby is born, but the waiting is torture. I want to be there for the baby, regardless of who the father is, but the uncertainty is tearing me apart. I've been talking to a therapist, trying to sort through my feelings. Some days I feel like I can forgive Lucia and try to rebuild our marriage. Other days I feel like I can't trust her ever again. The anger and hurt are overwhelming at times. Our families know what's going on, and they've been supportive, but it's still hard to face them. I feel like a failure, like I couldn't keep my marriage together. Lucia's parents are especially devastated. They never liked Daniel and were so happy when Lucia and I got together. As for Lucia, she's been trying to make amends. She's apologized countless times and says she wants to work things out. She's been going to therapy too, trying to understand why she did what she did. I can see she's genuinely sorry, but I don't know if that's enough.